Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for sorry for the delay. Thank you for joining us today. It's LinkedIn Tuesday. It's March 18th, 2025. Please note this event will be recorded. The recording will be on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to watch in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For those on Zoom, please, any questions you have for Kurt, please just type them into the chat window. Also, this is a great opportunity to network with everybody else who's on the call. So feel free to put in your name, your LinkedIn address, what kind of job you're looking for, and if you're looking for if you have a couple target companies, please list those so other people can help you in your job search. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those that are employed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I started careerusa.org to help those outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. Since 2007, except for 2024, I was leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s, and we've got a very interesting program coming up this Friday, and I'll tell you about that at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, also known as the PIT Crew. For more information, just reach out to DallasPitCrew.com for that. We have 4 outstanding speakers who rotate through on a monthly basis, and they talk about LinkedIn. Each one talks about it from a little bit different point of view. Today, our speaker is Kurt VandeMotte. He's a retained search executive at Linked Executive Search, and he's going to talk about LinkedIn from a recruiter's eye. So Kurt, thank you very much for being here, and I'll turn over to you.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. I'm very sorry about being late. I guess, Jeff, the question I got for you, the $1 million question, is the link that you sent me, is it the same link every time?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, so you know what I'm going to start doing? I'm going to start putting that in my meeting notes. So
okay.
then I won't be late again. So my apologies to everybody. I know your time is more valuable than sitting on hold waiting for a speaker. I hope that today's call is worth it and that there's something that you pick up today that you can take back to your job search and it'll work for you. So with that end, I could talk for an hour about myself, but that's not what we're here. We're here to talk about you all. You're here because you don't have a job, or you're likely good, or you're going to be losing your job soon. So the very first thing that I always ask you to do is that many of you came with an agenda, meaning you had a question. If you've got a specific question that you want to ask, even if we haven't gotten to that segment, I encourage you to put it in the notes. Jeff is my wingman, and he keeps an eye on those notes, and he'll interrupt us. And again, even if it's not on subject of what we're talking about right now, I want to make sure that everybody goes away with their answers to their questions, because as I said earlier, I have a job today, and I hope that I can give you something that will make you sleep a little bit better at night. So we're here to talk about LinkedIn from a recruiter's view, and again, complete disclosure is I used to, for 7 years, I had a recruiter's license, which meant I had a license with LinkedIn Recruiter. And let me tell you what LinkedIn Recruiter is, so that you can all have again, just a mental look at what it is. But the bottom line is LinkedIn Recruiter is a product that was developed about 15 years, well, maybe 10 years ago. I don't know if my years are off there, but bottom line is they developed a product with Korn Ferry. Korn Ferry came to LinkedIn and said, our database is outdated every night when we turn off our computers. And so they took the foundation, the core of LinkedIn is the product. It's the users. That's you and I that are on LinkedIn, and they developed a separate set of APIs that sit on top of LinkedIn. So the database is you and I today, and then everybody else that joins LinkedIn going forward. Um, and the separate set of APIs is there because when you're using LinkedIn Recruiter, you have complete visibility to the entire network. And so at the same time, when you're using LinkedIn Recruiter, candidates cannot see you. You don't show up on their radar anywhere. And that's because when recruiters are doing searches, we're looking at hundreds of candidates a day, and if candidates knew that we were looking at their profile and they knew I was a recruiter, they would put two and two together and suggest that maybe I should be somebody they'd want to call. Therefore, I'd get a whole lot of calls from people that I don't have time to talk to. So therefore, there's a separate set of APIs, but there's no link between candidates having visibility into seeing recruiters. Even where you see a recruiter looked at your profile, but you don't know what recruiter is, that is not a recruiter in LinkedIn Recruiter. Okay. So that's a little bit about LinkedIn Recruiter. I stopped using it because it got to be very expensive. And that's the bottom line. To have a seat in LinkedIn Recruiter was costing me close to $20,000 plus. And so I decided to fly solo, and I'm using the Sales Navigator product today. I'll see how that works for me over the next year, and I'll keep you all posted. But the bottom line is um, LinkedIn, we're going to still talk how recruiters use LinkedIn, how they use LinkedIn Recruiter, and things that you can do to your profile to make sure that you're getting recognized more often. So before we do that, let's do just a little bit of a tutorial on recruiters. So in the recruiting industry, there's three kinds of recruiters. There's in-house recruiters, there's outside contingent, and there's outside retained. And why is it important for us to understand the difference between those recruiters? And the main reason is because the conversations that you're going to have with these people, these kinds of recruiters, is different for each one of them. Okay. So in-house recruiters, these are the people that work for AT&T as an example. AT&T might have 400 or 500 recruiters, and they've got divisions that are working on site tower, people that build the site towers. They're recruiting for customer service. They're recruiting for sales. They're recruiting for their retail stores. They're recruiting for their executive offices. Um, but they're in a silo, so they're not recruiting for all those roles. They're recruiting for one specific role because they're all similar across the United States. So these recruiters, they can have up to 40, 50, 60 job orders on their desk at a time. So they're very, very busy. They know the hiring manager and they're working directly with them, but they're going to be very specific as far as what they're looking for. So I use an example, and I think it's good to talk about this early on, Jeff, is that a lot of the people in these in-house recruiters, and not all, but a lot of them are younger in their career. And so let's just say that they're searching for a customer service retention manager, customer service uh, slash retention manager. Okay. And you apply for that job because you've got 20 years of experience as a customer service manager, customer service advocate, customer service leader. You've done a lot in customer service, and you've done a lot in retention, but your title doesn't say customer service and retention manager. And that recruiter, if they're internal and they're younger in their career, they may not see you having that experience because of that title and will throw you into the wastebasket. Okay. So if you're applying to jobs, it's really important that you follow the titles of what companies are looking for, and then make sure that you're using keywords from that job application into your resume so that the recruiter, whoever it is that's looking at it, can pick up on those keywords and can see quickly that you actually have the skills and the experience of what they're looking for. Okay. Outside recruiters, there's two types. There's contingent recruiters. So a company that's got a VP of sales job open, They may call 4 or 5 recruiters to help them fill that job. They don't pay anybody any money. They sign a contract with the recruiter. And the only recruiter that gets paid any money is the recruiter that brings the candidate to the table. Okay. So when I started my business, when I first started out in this business, I did, I think, one contingent search. I worked all day into the night, got up the next morning, put a presentation together, sent it to the hiring manager because I had a couple of candidates that I wanted him to talk to. And he quickly responded and said, "I'm sorry, but we made a hire yesterday afternoon." So I would rather lose money on the golf course than to work for free. So I only do retained search, and that's the last search. In a retained search, I'm the only one filling the role, so I'm exclusive. Even if they've got internal recruiters, those recruiters are sending me the resumes of candidates that come across their desk. I get paid a retainer up front, thus called a retained search. And then I get a balance paid at the end of the search. And I've got a different relationship probably with the with the organization because I not only get to know the hiring manager, but I get to know the other players and the other executives within the organization. Because it's really important for me as I get to work on that search is for me to understand, who the different players are in the organization, and so I spend a little bit of time at the very beginning to try to get to know what that landscape looks like. Um, we work generally a little slower than contingent recruiters, and that's because we're exclusive. We don't work slow because that's what we're trying to drag the process out. Um, but one of the things that candidates always want to talk to us about is um, I get calls every day from candidates, and that's fine. I try to take as many of them as I can. And a lot of candidates want to be, excuse me, they want to be on my radar. And their conversation with me is, well, I just want to be on your radar, and I want you to know who I am when that next role for VP of sales comes up, because I'm a great VP of sales and I would be a great fit for that organization or any organization that you're working for. And my conversation back to the candidate is always the same. And it's, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I want to get to know you as well. But in complete transparency, every time I start a new search, I start from scratch. And that's what I owe it to my company. Okay. The company that's hired me to fill that role, that is the obligation that I have to them, is to make sure that I'm not overlooking any candidates. So absolutely, if you stuck in, because I talk to a lot of people, and I'm 65 years old, so I'm not getting any younger. Um, if if I could remember that entire database and I did remember you, absolutely I would reach out. And I do that when it's applicable, but it doesn't happen very often. So, hold on a second, guys. I gotta. Um, so, so I start from scratch on every search, because when I talked about my interview and talking to the company, the question that I ask companies is this: is what are the biggest problems that you're trying to solve with this hire? Okay. It's really important that I try to get an understanding of what it is, what's their biggest problems, what are they trying to solve? What is the first 60, 90, 120 days look like for this executive? And I need them to talk fluently about that, because my goal then is to go find a candidate that has done that experience, or has that experience, and has done that in their career. That's my obligation to this company, is to find somebody that isn't going to cut their teeth in this organization, that they have an experience in their industry, they have experience in doing the things in that industry that this family or this company or this organization needs to be done. Okay. So that's a little bit about the recruiting industry and who the players are, a little bit of insight into how we all work and so forth. Conversations with each of these recruiters is going to be different. So there's nothing wrong with you as a candidate to ask when a recruiter calls. There's nothing wrong for you to say, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? What kind of recruiter are you? Okay. So I think that you can easily get that answer when they say, "Well, I'm an internal recruiter. I work for the company." Then you know how to and what questions to ask, because you know that that executive that is filling that job knows exactly what they're looking for. So the second thing I'll go into just real quickly is when you get these phone calls, everyone, I want to make sure that you're taking these calls in a quiet place. You're not trying to take this call as you're doing carpool at 7:30 in the morning. You've got 5 teenage kids in your car and you're trying to figure out, you're trying to schedule an interview. Kids, be quiet. Make sure that with technology today, I got a call. That call that came in is from a very good friend of mine. I know he's out of town with his wife for 10 days. He might be having issues at the house, but that's all right. I sent a message and said, I'll call you back. So if you can't take the call or you're in a place you can't take the call, then just text the person and ask them if you can call them back in a little bit when you've done with carpool and you're in a quiet place. Jeff, do we have any questions out there yet?
Not yet.
Okay. So one of the things that people want to know today is what's going on in the industry. I don't know how many people we've got on this call, Jeff, but there seem to be quite a few. And I don't like it when that I would rather have 2 or 3 people on the call. Not that I don't like large crowds, but this is not a sign of that there's a lot of people that are 35 people. So this is a sign that there's a lot of people that are looking for work. And that is exactly what's going on right now. There is, I made the prediction and it was wrong that things would pick up right after the first of the year. I thought we would have a president, we would have clarity in which way we were going and what was going to happen. And in the first quarter, at least early in the first quarter, I expected that the phone would start ringing and things would get busy. Um, but that's not the case. And and in complete transparency, I'm a single shingle, right? So I'm not Corn Ferry that's got, you know, 4,000 offices around the world. But the difference between me and not necessarily difference between me and other recruiters, but the difference is that I am recognized by Forbes as being one of the top search firms in the United States. I'm number 1 in the state of Texas, and I'm number 13 in the United States. Excuse me, my nose. Somebody's thinking about me. Um, so, with that said, I do get phone calls from a lot of different people all year long, even when the economy is not good. So, for my phone not to be ringing is definitely a sign that we're in a slow economy. I validate that not every day, but weekly, at least a couple, 3 times a week with other recruiters that are in my network that I talk to. And then I validate it with candidates. Hey, you're out there talking to a lot of recruiters. What are other recruiters telling you? What sector's hot? Who's hiring? So that's the bad news. But even in a bad economy, even when we're in a slow period of time, I want to keep everybody encouraged that this is going to change. I ran into a PE guy the other day and he asked me how I was doing. I said, yeah, I'm just, business is awful right now. And he said, Kurt, don't worry. Give it till the 1st of April, the first quarter or the second quarter, May, things are going to pick up. The phone's going to start ringing. Everything's going to be okay. So I still remain confident that it's going to come back. And I mean that in complete honesty. I just think it's coming back slower than we all expected it maybe. But at the same time, I get a lot of calls from candidates during the holidays. Right around Thanksgiving, candidates call and they say, I'm going to stop my search for the next 3 or 4 weeks because nobody hires during the holidays. And I always suggest that that's a bad decision because I write a lot of offers during the holidays. So the same philosophy plays forward with this economy right now. Even though things aren't fabulous and we're not seeing thousands of job offers being filled every day, I want you to continue to do the blocking and tackling because there are companies that are hiring. They're just not using me or they're not using other recruiters. And so I do not want you to be disillusioned, and I do not want you to be, turned off and so forth. I will be honest and admit that finding a job, y'all, is the hardest job you'll ever have, and it sucks. Okay, I know it. I've been in your shoes before. Every day, your wife or your partner's asking you, did you get a job? Every day you get rejected or you get ghosted. It's not any fun looking for a job, and I understand that. But I will tell you that there's only one person that can get you a job, and that's yourself. Do not look to pay somebody to get you a job. There are people out there that will do it, and they charge anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000, sometimes even more than that. But the fact is, there's only one person that can get you a job, and that's yourself. You're taking the first step by attending today's seminar, and I'm not going to be the end all be all. There are three other great speakers. Terry Sullivan, um, to give you a suggestion, is one that you ought to attend. He knows LinkedIn very well. He is a coach that you can go to, and he can help you increase your profile, make your profile better, and give you some other tips. He does not allow Jeff to tape his session. And that's because LinkedIn is his business. He's training and teaching people how to use the LinkedIn tool every day. And he's really good at it. So if he does a free seminar on LinkedIn with Jeff Morris, I would be there if I was a job seeker, because I guarantee you he's going to give you some secret sauce that you didn't know before and stuff that I don't even know. Okay.
Terry's our speaker next Tuesday.
Yep. So highly recommend it. Highly recommend you put that on your calendar and come. I'm going to even put it on my calendar and see if I can't make it, because I'd love to check in with Jeff. So finding a job is the hardest job, but there are tools and things that you can do to make it easier. So let's just start by talking about some of the things that you can do in LinkedIn. First and foremost, in LinkedIn, if you do not have your email address and your phone number in your LinkedIn profile, turn on LinkedIn right now and put it in there. It's in the About section, or the section that is the summary section. It's the section under your picture and all the facts about who you are. I think it allows you to use 1,500 characters. If you've got any questions, you can go to my LinkedIn profile, and you'll see that at the bottom I say my contact information. And I've got my email address and my phone number. I want people to reach me. I'm in a role where I own a business. If you want to talk recruiting, you want to talk about a job search, I want to talk to you. Even when the candidates call, I don't always have a lot of time to spend with candidates if they just call me without scheduling time in advance. But the bottom line is, I want to talk about recruiting because that's what I do every day. So I want people to reach me, and I don't care where I'm at and when I'm at. I've got a tool here that I can turn off, silent, not answered if I don't want to. And you ought to be in the same mode if you're looking for a job search. The other thing you ought to do is, real quickly, we're on just some cleanup stuff. If you've got an email, you need to make sure you got a salutation in your email. And that salutation is your name, your email address, your phone number, and maybe a title. And you need to turn that salutation on for every email that you send and every email you receive, or that you send and resend and answer. Okay. Can't tell you how many times I'm not at my computer. I'm away playing golf, maybe. Company's ready to talk to a candidate. I don't have my notes with me, obviously. I pull up my phone. I go to try to find that candidate, and I can't find I can't find a phone number from where he called me at the last time. I pull up the emails that I've got from him. There's no salutation in there. I pull up text messages. I can't get a hold of this guy. So make it really easy for everybody to reach you. Same thing. Do you have a personal greeting on your cell phone? Okay. You are the brand right now. When you were in college and your professor handed you a Bic pen and said, "Sell me your Bic pen," and you talked about, well, it's really nice. It looks good in my hand. It's clean. It's something that I would give to somebody else. It's reliable. Okay. You are the big pen right now. And so make sure that you've got a greeting on your cell phone that says, I'm really sorry I can't take your call right now, but your call's important. Please leave your name and number and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. That is an opportunity for you to present yourself in a positive light. Don't let AT&T brand you. Put your own brand out there. Let's go back to LinkedIn. Cell phone email address, mandatory. Only 8% of candidates reply to InMails. Okay. So when I was using LinkedIn Recruiter and I can send in mails, or I'm using Navigator and I can send in mails, only 8% of you guys, and I'm not throwing you under the bus, reply to InMails. Okay. So if I send out 100 notes, thankfully my numbers are in the 18, 19% category. I'm only going to get 19 replies back. And I don't think that's even very good. So if I click on your profile and I'm ready to send you an email, but I see that you've given me your email address and your phone number, you go to the head of the class because I can reach out and call you immediately and ask you, hey, Jay, tell me about the time you did this. What was your salary? How long you were there? I can ask you some really quick questions and gather some quick data. And then I can give you my email address and we can get off of LinkedIn. And that's what recruiters want to do. We don't want to sit in LinkedIn because we don't use that as a we don't want to use that as our applicant tracking system. We want to put you in our own file system and get out of LinkedIn. Okay, so just a suggestion: do reply to emails. I can't tell you how many times I get a note back from somebody that says, "Hey, that sounds like a great opportunity. Can we have a conversation tomorrow?" And I send a note back and I say, "I'm sorry, but I filled that role 6 months ago. I wish you had looked at your email. I wish you'd look at your in-mails more often." So don't be that person. Look at your in-mails, reply to every in-mail, even if it's just thanks. Um, LinkedIn used to, I don't know if they do anymore, they used to track your reply rate and they would tell recruiters these are the candidates that are more likely to reply to your messages than these candidates. Pretty telling. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about in LinkedIn is keywords. Keywords are absolutely critical to your job search. And candidates often come and say, well, Kurt, how do I get keywords? Well, I'm going to give you a couple of different suggestions. Number one is your own resume. It's got a lot of keywords in it. So take your own resume out, highlight all the keywords, make sure those keywords are in your LinkedIn profile as well. I don't want you to cut and paste your resume into LinkedIn either. I want you to talk about what you've done. It's a different tone that you can use in LinkedIn. And I want you to use that tone to talk about things that you've done and use these keywords. That's one place. Second place you can get keywords is you can go to job descriptions of jobs that you're looking for at. These are the jobs that, this is a CFO job or a VP of sales job. It's a job for a company and you want to apply to that job. Print that job application or job description out, highlight the keywords in there. Make sure those keywords are in your LinkedIn profile. Make sure those keywords are in your resume before you send it to the company in case they're doing a match, okay, on keywords. And then the last place that you can get keywords is you can certainly use AI. If you're not using AI in your job search today, I highly encourage you to find some ways to creatively play with AI. It'll be a conversation starter. If it's not just with your friends, it will be in a job search or an interview at some point. I use AI to write letters. I use AI to do research for me. I use AI in a lot of different ways. But you can throw into AI a list of keywords that are the keywords that you've written and say, give me other keywords like these. And there may be other keywords that are very similar that you didn't even think about putting into your LinkedIn profile. So keywords are critical because that's how we search for candidates. So, and then keywords are critical when you're submitting a resume, that you try to make sure that you have put as many of the keywords of what they're looking for into your resume. I'm a storyteller, if you can't tell. When I was a kid and growing up, my father owned a printing company. And when I graduated from college, he insisted that he typeset my resume, which means that he literally, in a form, 8.5 by 11 form, letter by letter, they typeset my entire resume, word by word, space by space, period, indentation, bullet, the whole detail. It was gorgeous. I mean, it was a work of art. But once I said yes, let's go with it, we couldn't make any more changes to it. If I was submitting an application to Pepsi and I wanted to have X, Y, and Z in my resume, I couldn't make a modification. Well, you can today, okay? So make sure you take the time to make those modifications. It will increase your hit rate and you'll get more opportunities. But applying for jobs is not enough today, guys. I really want you to take the time to, you apply for a job, even maybe before you hit the apply button, you know the name of the company in 95% of the cases. And I want you to do some heavy lifting to see who you know that could help with an introduction, an additional introduction, can help answer those questions about what keeps this company up at night, what are the biggest problems that they're trying to solve, who are their biggest competitors, what's it really like to work for this company. If it's a candidate that's left the company and they left within the last 3 years, I wouldn't go 5 or 6, but if they left the last 3 years, is that a company they go back to? Okay. These are all great questions that you can ask to try to learn as much as you can about the organization before you submit your application and before you potentially even get an interview. Finding a job isn't easy. It takes a lot of heavy lifting. It takes a lot of contacts, but I encourage you to not just submit applications, but to then reach out and see who in your network you can talk to that can help accelerate that search or provide additional information that'll help you in the interview process. It's all about target companies. So if you're not looking, if you're going to meetings and you're saying, I'm looking for, companies in the consumer packaged goods business and I'm looking for sales and marketing roles, that's not good enough. You really need to come to that meeting with companies, target companies, names of companies. Where do you get those company names? One suggestion is the book a list. I see many of you are from different areas. Jay looks like he's up in Naperville. I hope it's not snowing up there today. But every tomorrow, every city has a business journal, major city, and so you can subscribe to the Dallas Business Journal. There you go. Jeff's showing one right now. And every week you should subscribe to the Business Journal. It's going to cost you $250. If you tell them you're unemployed, they give you a 20% discount, I think. If you don't want to subscribe to the Business Journal, then at least go to the library and look for the book a list. You cannot buy that book a list anywhere. You can't go to Amazon. You can't get it at your Barnes and Noble. You have to be a subscriber to the Business Journal, okay? But what this book a list is every week in every journal around the country, they put in a list of the 250 fastest growing companies in Chicago, the 250 largest publicly traded companies in Chicago, the 250 fastest growing companies in Indianapolis, the largest real estate firms, the largest this, the largest this. Every week there's a new list, and then at the end of the year they publish one book with all those lists in it, and it's called the Book of Lists. You can't check it out from your local library typically, but you can go. So if you don't want to buy the Book of Lists, go to the library, take some quarters with you, and just sit at the copy machine and make copies of the pages that you want, okay? Or subscribe, or maybe you've got a friend or somebody in your community that you can get a copy of the Book of Lists. But it's a great resource guide and a great thought starter. It not only gives you the names of the companies, but it gives you the name of their executive, CEO of the company. So name recognition when you get older, in my case, is really important. I go to a cocktail party and I see Jeff, but I can't remember his name. And I start going through the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, trying to think of names that I can go, oh, Jeff, that's it. So name recognition is really important. This book of lists is going to help you in a lot of different ways. It's going to open a lot of different doors, and it's going to create some things that you didn't have before. If you get the weekly magazine, you're also going to hear about things that are going on in your community that are all business related only, that are going on in your local community, because each business journal has their own staff of writers, researchers, and publishers. So you get local content, you don't get national, and it can be a really good resource for you. So consider that investment if you're not making it already. Jeff, any questions?
Yes, there were a couple. Should you connect with LinkedIn, the hiring manager listed on a job request, or is that just annoying when that happens?
Repeat that.
When you are applying for a job on LinkedIn and most of the time they list who the hiring person is, or they list who the recruiter is, should you reach out to that person or try to find the hiring manager?
I do both. It's just you don't know who's on vacation, or you don't know who's still in that role. You hope that that person's still in the role. So many things can go. I would try to find both.
Okay, another question. If a recruiter reaches out to you and you also see the job posted on the company site or on LinkedIn, should you submit your resume to the job site or only through the recruiter on LinkedIn?
Well, I would try to get a quick understanding with the recruiter of what's going on. So, if this would be my conversation. Um, there's a job at AT&T that I really want, and it's posted on AT&T's website. And you're a recruit, and you're a recruiter, and you call me. This conversation would be, it'd be the quick and easy. It'd say, "Hey, I'm really interested in the role, but I also see that it's listed on their website. Can you give me an update of who's really working on this role? Are you an internal recruiter, or are you an external recruiter? Have they turned this role over to an outside agency? What can you do? What information can you share so that I make sure that I don't step on anybody's toes?"
Good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Jason asked, you mentioned
Thank you, Kurt.
that you start from scratch each time you begin a search. I'm curious to learn more about that approach.
Yeah. So when a company comes to me, so I'll give you an example. I did a search for a CFO for a oil and gas company in Midland, Texas. And very first thing is the son and son-in-law were the two that called me. It wasn't the owner of the company, and they said that they were looking for a CFO. And when anybody calls me and they're looking for a CFO, not that it raises a red flag, but I immediately want to know, okay, that's interesting. Can you tell me more about your organization? How big are you? Can you give me some additional insight? Well, after about 15 minutes, I learned that this was a billion-dollar organization. They were oil and gas, and they had a multi millions in commercial real estate as well. Okay, so they didn't need a controller. They really did need a CFO, and they admitted it, and they knew that they needed this person. So Midland, Texas CFO, I could pull up real easy. I could just go pull up CFOs in Midland, Texas. I got to find somebody in Midland, right? Well, instead, I went to the family and I said, I would really encourage you for this particular search, that we go outside of Midland, and I want you to consider this to be a remote role as well. If you can fathom the idea of this executive coming to your office 2 weeks a month, goes home a week, comes back a week, goes home a week, goes back a week, and does that every week in some kind of sequence for the year, I think that our talent pool is going to open up immensely. Okay. If I can go to Houston, and I can go to Dallas, and I can go to San Antonio, and I can go to Austin, I can go to Texarkana, and I don't have to find somebody that has to relocate, because that's hairy. It's got families, they got kids. Midland's not the easiest city in the country to get people to move to. So we started from scratch. I know a lot of CFOs. So I go to that group of CFOs, but I have a very specific list of questions for them to say, can, you know, you got the CFO experience, but have you worked in oil and gas, upstream, downstream? Have you worked in a family business? Have you got any commercial real estate experience? Um, and what are your thoughts about a remote role and commuting to Midland, on a biweekly basis throughout the year? So I can quickly ask them, and 99% of the time, I don't get one candidate out of that group of 15 that I knew. But it does help me accelerate the search because maybe they know somebody. But when I'm now searching, I've got a very strict set of keywords of what I'm actually looking for. And it's really quick when I get a candidate on the phone call to ask them if they've got experience in both of these areas, because we could not settle on a candidate that wanted to learn the financial side of commercial real estate on somebody else's dime. Their position in it was much too large, and they had been without attention for way too long. Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah, just sorry if I don't think you can chime in here. I think I'd
Yeah,
asked that question because I was thinking to myself, a lot of us on this call are eager for people like yourself or other major recruiting agencies to be aware of who we are. But your feedback suggested that while you're happy to talk to us, it doesn't really help. That's kind of what I got out of it.
it doesn't move the needle a lot, so it's not the best use of your time. What I don't want you to become is discouraged by recruiters that don't take your phone calls. A lot of recruiters aren't going to take your calls because unless they're working on a role that's exactly like your background, they don't work for candidates. They work for candidates. I have a different model. I have a different motto, and that is I sleep better at night knowing that I've got information about how and why and when companies hire. And why shouldn't I be sharing that with people that don't have that knowledge and aren't sleeping at night? So I do it because I think it's the right thing to do. I wish more recruiters did it. Um, and I'll tell you one last thing, and I'm not whining. Okay, I've been in the business now for 16 years, and I take one call a day, sometimes two, sometimes even three calls from candidates, and not and you can do that. You can do the mathematics on that. Not once have I gotten a call from a candidate that said 3 years ago, you were so helpful. You did allow me to sleep at night because you gave me some ideas and suggestions. And I'm now the CEO of this company and I've got a job that I need to fill. And can you help me? So I don't do it because I'm going to get calls back. A lot of candidates remind me that, I am a senior executive. And when I do get into that hiring position, if you can help me, I'll, call you. But again, it comes back to doing the right things for the right people for the right reason. And so that's why I do it. But I don't want you to become disillusioned by making lots of phone calls to recruiters and getting a lot of dead ends, a lot of no's. It's not great use of your time.
I think, if you're looking at a recruiting firm or if there's a firm you're interested in, check out their website. And if you see a job posted on the website that you're qualified for, that's when you call them.
Yep,
I know that I used to, with Babbage and Associates, I would check out their website every week. And if I saw something, I would call the recruiter who I knew and go, I'm qualified for that job. Let's talk. And
absolutely.
and then
And
that's how I would get requests because recruiters are so busy, they want to be able to focus, on what they're working on immediately.
and at the same time, if you're networking with somebody and they say, you ought to call Kurt VandeMotte, he recruits for Mission Foods, then absolutely. Hey, Kurt, and this is Jack. I was at a networking event, and I understand that you do recruiting for Mission Foods. Or, can 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 I talk to you about some of the roles that they've got open? And in that particular case, I'd say, yeah, you're right. I did. I used to, but I don't anymore. And I really don't even have any contacts over there anymore. But I would share with you at that point what I could offer you or who I did know, or we do a quick LinkedIn lookup to see if I could make any quick introductions. But um, yeah, it's those are the best tools.
Right. Do you want to talk about your prayer letter?
Yeah, I do.
I created some slides to go along with it, so you'll
Good.
see them pop up here in just a second.
Okay. So everybody, I know this sounds silly and you've gotten the message. I'm a storyteller. I call this the prayer letter. I've been telling everybody this story for the last 16 years. I really do think that it's worth the time. Um, Most of you on this call are not all salespeople. There's a lot of you on this call that are finance or engineers, and selling yourself. When I tell you that you are the brand and you've got to go sell yourself, that in itself creates anxiety. And so, so what I want to try to do is make life a little bit easier on you and take some of that anxiety away. The bottom line is your network is your net worth. Okay, your network is your net worth, and especially when you're in a job search. So it's one thing to tell a few people that you're looking for a new job. It's one thing to go to meetings and you need to do all those things. But the prayer letter, what it does is it makes you literally build an Excel spreadsheet with every names of people that you've worked with, people that you worked for, people that you met at conventions, people that tried to sell you stuff over the years, people you maybe met on airplanes, an exhausted list, neighbors, friends, people that you go to church with. I don't care. These are people that know you, they know who you are, and they'll pick up the phone and answer your call. Okay. So I want you to make a list with their email addresses and their phone number. The second exercise is I want you to literally take 30 days and call everybody on that list. Okay. And the call sounds like this. Hey, Jack, John, Kurt here. I just wanted to call and let you know that I'm actively looking for a new role. I Some of the companies that I'm targeting this month include, and you give them a couple of the companies that you're looking for, and you're just a trusted member of my network. And I wanted you to know that I'm actively looking in the event that you hear of an opportunity that might be attractive for me or maybe somebody in my network. Okay, that's the conversation. You're not asking this person for a job. You're not sending them a resume. You're not doing anything. You're just activating your network. Okay. That's what we call activating your network. Now you've activated your network and 30 days has passed. And I can guarantee that 70% of the people that you called in that first month within 24 hours probably forgot that you even called. And that's not because you're a bad person and it's not because you didn't leave a memorable experience, but it's because they're busy. And you and I have all been in this place before where we're busy. We've got a lot of things going on, trying to figure out where we're going to take our family for spring break. My wife's birthday's next week. I'm trying to figure out whether I get her flowers or take her to dinner. My mom's not well, so that call's got to be made. There's just people are busy these days. Okay. So 30 days goes by. Now, what you need to do is write the prayer letter. And the prayer letter is one that you can use every month. This exercise shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes a month. If it's taking you more than 5 minutes, then there's something wrong. But the prayer letter is this. You've got it before, and it says, read this prayer 10 times, send it to 10 people in the next 10 minutes, or you're going to die and go to hell. Well, in the job search world, instead, it says this. In the subject line, it says, great people know great people. You take all those names that you got from your from your Excel spreadsheet, you grab all the email addresses. Now, I don't need to remind you that when you've got somebody live on the phone and you're telling them that you're looking for a new job and you're catching up with them and so forth, that you make sure that you've got the right email address as well. People change email addresses like they change underwear. So make sure that you've got their most current email address or the one that they will check most frequently to receive future messages. So now you take that list, you grab all the email addresses, you put them all into a BCC. No twos, no CCs, all into a BCC. And the letter says, great people know great people. And then it says, if you remember, we talked a month or so ago, and I continue to look for new opportunities. Some of the target companies I'm looking at this month include, and you give them 3 or 4 companies. If you or anybody in your network has contacts with these companies or companies like these, I would greatly appreciate an introduction. Feel free to forward this note on to anybody in your network. And there's anything that I can do for you or a friend, don't hesitate to call. I'll be back in touch in 30 days. This works, y'all. You are now dripping into your network. You activated it, you did all the heavy lifting, and now you're just dripping in to remind them. You don't send them a resume, you continue to use target companies, and this will accelerate your search by, I don't know, anywhere from 50 to 60%. I had a finance guy tell the story of about a finance guy. He was a CFO, worked for a family business down in South Texas. He started working for the company when he was 12 years old, and he was 54 years old when the third generation decided that they didn't want somebody old anymore. They wanted somebody young. He had never looked for a job, and he had the deer in the headlights because CFOs, they generally are, not that they're not good communicators, but they're not the most social people in the room. They don't like putting themselves out there. They're just a little bit more inclusive. And when I told him that I wanted him to consider using the prayer letter concept, he looked at me like I had six heads. But he went and did it. And he called me 4 months later and he said, I would have never believed it, but I got 3 job offers last week and I'm accepting one. Thank you very much. The prayer letter works. So I haven't kept track of the results of this tool. It's too late to go back and try to recreate the data, but I encourage you, if you're intimidated by it, call me. If you don't like it and you've got a different method, use it. Um, and you can refine it and make it work for yourself. But I doubt that if you try this tool and if you just send it to 10 of your very, very best friends, that if you were getting ready to make a presentation and your fly was unzipped, they would tell you. If you sent it to 10 people and said, what do you think? If I sent this note out every month, what would you say? What do you think? I don't think there's one person on that list that wouldn't say send it. It's the best communication you can come up with. So I really encourage you to use it. It does work. The two other things I want to share with you is I do have, if anybody's in Dallas and you're an HR generalist, I'm not filling this job as a search for myself right now. I'm not retained to do the search, and I'm not doing it as a contingent search, but it's a company that I love and it's a brand I even adore more. And I met with their CHRO, their chief leader, people person, a couple of weeks ago, and she doesn't have any budget right now for recruiters, but she's looking for an HR generalist. So somebody in the Dallas area, 5 years experience, 6 years of experience, $90,000. Somebody that's not afraid of detail, somebody that loves to communicate. It's a white collar organization, so they don't have product that you have to get your hands dirty on. Everybody in the organization is in marketing, sales, finance, sales. So it's a great organization. That's my commercial for that. The last thing is that when you're networking with people that are employed, I hate to say it, but they're the worst networking people that you can find because they're busy. And so when you sit down with Jack at Starbucks and have coffee, and he says that he's going to make 3 or 4 introductions for you, what I want you to do is I want you to go back to your office, and not as an insult to Jack, but more than that, to help him get that introduction made quickly, I want you to write that introduction letter for him. Hey, Jack, it was great seeing you at coffee today. I really appreciate you considering making an introduction to John over at XYZ. To make that introduction easier for you, here's a note that you can cut and paste and attach your notes to it. So write that note so that Jack doesn't have to go back to his notes a month later, a week later, 2 days later to try to figure out what you guys talked about. What was the fact that why did he want you? What was the thing that he wanted me to reinforce? I can't remember. Do the heavy lifting for him. It won't be an insult to Jack. He'll appreciate it, and the note will go out immediately. Any other questions, Jeff?
Kathy wants to know why did you call it the prayer letter?
Why I called the prayer letter? Because for years before I started the prayer letter, I got so many of those letters from people that said, read this prayer 10 times, send it to 10 people in the next 10 minutes, or you're going to die and go to hell. And I just thought it was kind of not comical, but I thought, man, that applies to the job search world because there are so many people that are not desperate, but they just don't know what rope to hang on to, and they feel like they're on the mountain alone, and I don't want you to ever feel that way. And that's why this meeting was for you, not for me. I hope that you got a couple tidbits out of it, but that's the prayer letter, and that's my prayer for each one of you, that you find the job, find the opportunity that you want, that's going to satisfy you and your family, and it's going to give you the rewards that you want and need.
Right. Well, Kurt, thank you very much for your time today. Great information. Let me share a few things and we'll get out of here. As we mentioned earlier, Terry Sullivan will be with us next week to tell how you tell your key contacts and prospects who you are, what you do, and how you can help. Terry does not allow his presentation to be recorded. So if you want to watch it, you will need to watch it live next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. I did put that prayer letter. There's a PDF copy in the chat window, and you should be able to download it if you click on it. Crew FW and Crew USA, we're putting on training a couple days a week. Tomorrow, the practice interviewing team will be meeting in person at Christ United Methodist Church up at Coit and Parker. The pit crew meets in person on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th Wednesdays. On the 4th Wednesday will not be tomorrow, but next Wednesday, it will be online. So you'll be able to watch the interview process happen online. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, we're going to have two topics. We're going to talk about video interviewing with Walt Glass, and then designing Zoom backgrounds with Canva with Andrea Russ. It's a hands-on workshop, so please bring a fully charged laptop and create a free Canva account prior to the meeting so you can work on your own banner for LinkedIn. You can join us in person up at Christ United Methodist Church at Coit and Parker, 9:30 on Friday morning, or on Zoom. You're welcome to join the Career FW or CareerUSA.org LinkedIn groups. We've got over 15,600 members in the Career DFW group. You do not need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to join that group. I just ask that your profile be mostly complete. Let us know who you are and how we can help you in your job search. This session was recorded. It will be on the Career USA YouTube channel only. Facebook, for some reason, doesn't want to cooperate with Zoom right now. On the CareerUSA.org YouTube channel, click on playlist when you go to it, and then don't click on the video, but click down below where you see that red arrow where it says view full playlist. And when you do that, up will come a list of, in chronological order, all the dates and topics that were talked about. This video will be up later this afternoon, probably be up by 6 o'clock or so. It takes a couple hours for it to upload. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, please join the Career USA mailing list. Just scan this QR code and send a blank email, or send a blank email to Career USA, the +subscribe at groups.io, and you'll get a weekly email with all the details of what services that we've got going on that week. Please remember, Career DFW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. Kurt's a volunteer. All of our speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done since 2008 has just been to help you man your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Hopefully we'll see the pit crew tomorrow afternoon, or if not, we'll see you Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, Jeff.